What's going on, guys? It's Carroll from MyMMAnews.com and Carroll's Corner MMA podcast. Today we're joined by Andrew Geisler. Is that how you pronounce it?
Geisler.
Geisler. My apologies. Andrew, thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, not a problem.
You're just coming off a big knockout victory at Cage Wars 37. You have another fight scheduled for Cage Wars 35 on September 15th. Tell us how you feel going into the fight.
I feel confident. I feel like a lot of people that do this sport, especially at the amateur level, it's kind of like a hobby for them. So, you get guys who kind of train 3-4 days a week. They have a job full time.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, I'm not working. It's the middle of the day. This is what I do for a living. I'm lucky and fortunate enough where I have people who set me up in the position to be able to just train all day. So, while these people are working, I'm training. When they get off of work, they're mentally drained. When I go to practice, I'm going into my second, third practice. So, I get the opportunity to train with high level guys all day. So,
and let's talk about your knockout from Cage Wars 37. When you landed that flush punch, what was going through your mind? Did you set that up? How did that come about? And did you feel it as soon as you landed it?
Yeah, I come from a jiu-jitsu background, so I know everyone expects me to grapple, but I work a lot with the guys over at Floyd Patterson Boxing Club. I got a really good boxing coach over there, Derek Boloff. He's been working a lot of hands with me. I actually got my boxing book and everything, so I'm kind of having some boxing matches just for
Awesome.
my striking game. But obviously, when I connected, I saw right away. I walked away. Especially in amateurs, they're not going to let it go when someone's that rocking it. So that's what I knew. Just to walk away from the punch. But obviously it felt real clean when I connected it. I'm not going to say I thought it was going to be a knockout punch, but I definitely I wasn't surprised that I was able to work my striking in the fight.
Awesome. Yeah, that was definitely the knockout of the night. It was a clean flush knockout, and the dude, I thought he might have been dead for a second.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got into jiu-jitsu and MMA, and what brought you into the sport.
So, I'm a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for about 10 years now. I remember I started with the karate when I was really, really young, like 7 or 8, and I hated it. But my dad eventually convinced me to come and try this out, and I thought I was going to do karate. I didn't know what jiu-jitsu was.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a big fan of the whole MMA scene because of karate at first. Once I got into it, I was about 12, 13. Then from there on, I was just addicted. I couldn't really stop.
Awesome. And now, did you play any high school sports, wrestling, football, lacrosse, anything like that?
I played a lot of soccer, actually.
Okay.
That's my biggest regret. I wish I could go back and wrestle in high school. I actually am a pretty good wrestler. Something I naturally picked up through jiu-jitsu, but I always wanted to know what level I'd be at if I actually got those few years of wrestling in.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your fight coming up at Cage Wars 38 on September 15th.
I know my opponent. He's got a lot of fights. He has 4-8, which isn't the greatest record.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not too worried about the actual ring experience. But he is a more experienced fighter, so I'm expecting him to be calm and composed, things like that. But it's something. Like I said, I've trained with guys super high level. I just came back from visiting Jersey, Mickey Gall's gym. I got to work with all those guys. He's super cool. I'm used to working with high level athletes. My coach is great, Mike Palladino.
Okay.
He's a really respected black belt, in the jiu-jitsu community. So I get the pleasure of training with that guy on a daily basis. So I'm not too worried about what anyone in the amateur circuit's going to bring me. It's not going to be anything I haven't seen. That's the good part about getting to train with all these high level guys. I know I'm not going to say anything better than what I'm already working on.
Awesome. And what's the biggest thing you learned from traveling and training with different guys? You mentioned Mickey Gall, training with your head coach Mike Palladino, who's a black belt. What's the biggest thing you learned from just training with those guys?
Honestly, I think every coach brings something a little bit different. I've been at this gym I'm at right now for about a year and a half, and my game has just substantially gone up. I was always known as a big leg locker, and this coach really drilled in the importance of pressure passing and having the option of passing because that was a hole in my game. So when I got to the gym, he was really gave me a lot of good constructive criticism. So it made me kind of work away from those leg locks to fill that hole in my game, and it made the leg locks even better. Because now when you have the threat of passing, and you know what I mean. It makes the leg lock attempts easier,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So you know, having that insight from really high level black belt is always really good. But
That's awesome. Definitely, yeah. You want to be a well-rounded fighter when you enter the
exactly.
cage. I guess without giving all your details of your camp, just take us through what a casual week is like for you in fight camp.
Yeah, sure. So you know, each day I kind of do different things. Especially this fight's a little different for me because you know I'm a 45er.
Mm-hmm.
I walk around really big. I walk around 170 pounds. So 45 is a big cut for me. So when they agreed to a catch rate 50, it wasn't really the end of the world to me. It was honestly a little bit of a sigh of relief to have to cut that extra five. But you know, with this camp, now that I can have that 5 pound allowance, it gives me like an extra day doing like strength and conditioning. I can put a little bit more muscle on, things like that. Um, but a typical week, I usually do Tuesdays and Thursdays are my days I do boxing over at Floyd Patterson's, and then I do strength and conditioning after. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is my jujitsu days. And I cross train. You know, I try to go one day a week where I cross train different schools. Like I said, I went down and visited Mickey in Jersey. We trained at this place called 914 Training Center. So you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're always driving around getting work, and I try to run at least 6 days a week. That's the biggest thing I notice in amateurs. I see people gas. They go out there and they have a big adrenaline dump. They go out, they get all fancy, and then they crash. So I try to avoid that.
Definitely, yeah. I agree with you. A lot of guys hype themselves up so much before they get in the cage, and then they adrenaline dump just hits them and they crash hard. Um,
Uh,
what is the like? Obviously, everyone says MMA is 90% mental, 10% physical. How do you prepare yourself mentally for a fight?
Yeah, honestly, I've never been someone who gets really psyched up before fights. I mean, up until I did like boxing matches before, and tons of high level jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I feel like that really helps with those nerves, having that prior experience.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when I go in, I look at like my opponent, and I'm like, well, honestly, you know, this person's just as nervous as I am, so I don't look at it as like a disadvantage when someone's nervous. That's something I always tell people. It's not a disadvantage if you're nervous because everyone's nervous. You know,
Mm-hmm.
George St. Pierre used to even talk about how before his fights he'd be like throwing up. You know, no one's immune to it. So you know, what we have to look at is the skill level of the opponent I'm fighting, and I just don't think that my opponent brings the same tools as the guys that I'm training with already. So
Definitely. And take us through some of your short-term goals, long-term goals within the sport.
yeah, that's another thing about amateur MMA. I feel like a lot of people want to say like, oh, I'm a cage fighter, so
Mm-hmm.
they get in there. You can tell honestly, no disrespect. I give credit to anyone who steps in, but you can just tell a lot of them don't have uh, the goals
Physical
to
attributes.
go through. They don't have the goals to go to that next level. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
just want to fight amateur so they can post up on Instagram, things like that. But my goals long term are to eventually get to UFC, Bellator, get to a high level pro organization. So the question I ask myself a lot of times is that when I'm nervous for a fight or I'm backstage, I'm like, do you think this person's going to go to the UFC? This has got to be just a stepping stone. You just got to walk, keep going.
Definitely. And well, speaking of taking that leap to the next level, female fighter from Cage Wars, Alexander Ballou, took that
Yeah.
leap to right away. Her first professional fight will be in Bellator on Friday night in Connecticut. Being that Bellators, they're coming into town like this and just scooping up guys and women from the local area and bringing them into the professional level, whether they fought yet or not. If they're a prospect that they believe that can entertain people, they're giving them an opportunity. Is that something you're going to look forward to when they come back in the town in the near future?
Yeah, of course. Alex is actually a training partner of mine.
Oh, okay.
My gym is Evolution Grappling. We're an affiliate of Soul Fighters. She fights out of Soul Fighters Brewster. So all of our guys actually cross train within each other. So I know Alex. She trains really hard. That girl.
Mm-hmm.
So congrats to her for getting called up. Me personally, I think women's MMA is like a little bit different of a time than men's.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like they're a little bit behind. So like you'll see even girls in the UFC 4-4, 5-5, and Alex undefeated. So it's a good time for maybe her to move up and try and take that next step. But for me personally, I don't feel like I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I have long term goals. You get as long of an amateur career as you want. I'm young. I'm 22 years old. So if someone, if Bellator came and offered me something right now, I wouldn't hop on it just because this is where I want my future to be. And you only get one shot at a pro record. If you go 3-2, 3-3, that's a hard thing to recover your record from get going like a 10-fight tear to get noticed by anyone. So I want to make sure when I go pro, I'm ready so I can make a statement and then get picked up by an organization sooner rather than later.
I agree 100%. I think it's timing is everything, and being able to prepare yourself and being prepared when you make that leap to professional level is crucial for your success on the professional level. What are you doing, though, as an amateur to make sure you're prepared for when you make the leap to the professionals? A lot of guys I know, I've talked about this numerous times with people, try to avoid certain people. Are you taking on all challenges? What are you doing to prepare yourself for this next level?
I think it's important to challenge yourself. Like I said, I took on a guy with this guy has 12 fights. I have two. So I'm looking. He's also a heavier weight class than me. He's got more experience. But the experience is only on paper. He's been in that ring more times than me. But I've been doing this. Like I said, I started jiu-jitsu when I was 12 years old. I've competed in the Abu Dhabi trials, high level grappling tournaments. I've had boxing matches, kickboxing matches. So I do have that experience in those on paper, and I get the privilege of training with guys that are in the UFC. So not a lot of people can say that. So I don't think that they're going to be throwing anything at me that I haven't seen. But to answer your question, I do think it's important to challenge yourself. I know there's some kids in my division that I would like to take on after this fight. Maybe I know kid's opponent's got really good hands, but I just don't think his jiu-jitsu is on the same level as mine. So I think that would be a really exciting fight, me and Zapone. Maybe we get on that November or whatever the card is after that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a matchup I'd definitely like to see. You just kind of brought me into my next question. How often do you want to fight? I know there's another Cage Wars card in November. How often do you want to fight within the next year or so?
Well, like I said, I'm young, and honestly, I cut a lot of weight, so I don't want to go killing myself and commit to it, especially since I just kind of called out as a opponent. I don't want to be like always backing out. So if maybe that November or the card after that, I got to kind of play it by ear. Also, I plan on taking some boxing matches, some Muay Thai fights. So I don't want to overwhelm myself. Like I said, the biggest thing for me is becoming well-rounded before I go pro. So right now my striking has improved drastically over the last year and a half. But jiu-jitsu is still my strength, so I want to get to the point where I don't have strength and I'll be able to be equally comfortable no matter where the fight goes. So I'm going to do whatever's best for me as the time comes. But I would like to eventually fight for the title at amateur, maybe defend it 1 or 2 times before we're going pro.
Awesome. And tell us what you do to take your mind off of fighting. What do you do for fun? What do you do for enjoyment when you're not training in the gym?
I know it seems weird, but I like to work out a lot. It's I look at it as a different type of workout than MMA. Sometimes you get overwhelmed. You go to wrestling, and I drive to boxing, and I drive to a different school. I go to my main school for jiu-jitsu, and then all this. But sometimes I just go to the regular gym, sit in the sauna, hit a regular workout. It's like almost a mental break, even though you're still working out. But outside of that, the only thing I really do for hobbies play Xbox, so pretty easy life I got.
Cool. Well, tell us. You're talking about traveling and whatnot. Obviously, all this costs a lot of money. Do you have any sponsors? Do you want to recognize?
I have a couple guys that support me more of like a trade-off deal. I got guys like Eric Ashburn, chiropractor, works with me. So what he does, I try and spread the word for him as much as possible. And he gives me like adjustments whenever I'm feeling sore, things like that. But I don't have anyone actually providing money. What I do have is a super awesome coach, Mike Palladino. Really grateful for him. He lets me do things around the gym, make money, do consultations, things like that. So I'm really fortunate to have met a guy that takes care of me. Awesome.
Anyone else you want to recognize? Family members for supporting you and helping you out for this fight coming up?
Yeah, of course. I have a lot of amazing training partners. So forgive me if I miss anyone, but Nick Spencer has been a huge help to me. I know he's going to be getting on the Cage Wars card soon. He's a really good Muay Thai guy, good pro belt, well-rounded fighter. But he does all my pad work, things like that. Mike Palladino gets my jiu-jitsu where it needs to be. Derek Olaf over at Floyd Patterson's. You know, my mom and dad are a huge support system for me. You know, they take care of me financially, mentally, like, you know, everything I need, they're there for me. So, you know, like I said, I'm super grateful to be in the position I'm in, where I can just focus every day, all day on things that I love, you know, and I'm young. So I don't want to ever look back and wonder, like, what if, you know. So
Yeah.
this is my chance to really zone in on the opportunity and take full advantage of it.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, I appreciate taking the time to hop on. One last question before we wrap it up. What's one thing about you that nobody knows but you'd like to share with everyone?
Let's see. Put me on the spot here. Yeah, I'm a pretty open book. You know, people who don't know me always tell me, you know, things that are obviously said. Like, I have a lot of tattoos. My go-to for that is that I can back, but you guys found that out already. So that's usually my go-to answer when someone asks me something they don't know about.
Awesome. Well, hey, Andrew, I appreciate taking the time to hop on, chat with me. Ladies and gentlemen watching, September 15th, up in a Schenectady resort, casino resort and hotel. Andrew will be fighting. Get up there, get tickets. You could get the tickets on CageWarsNY.com. If not, you can watch on Fight TV. Myself and Will Barry will be commentating the fights. This video and interview is sponsored by Pure Spectrum CBD. The link will be in the description. Check them out. Use my code CCMMA for 10% off on all products. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
Of course, guys, tune in. It's gonna be a fun fight. I think it's gonna be a little bit higher level than people are used to seeing in the amateur circuit. So, you know, I think it's gonna be a quick 1-2 rounds tops. You know, it's gonna be fun for everyone to watch. Really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I'm excited for this fight. Once again, thank you for joining me, and best of luck in your fight coming up.